Hello everyone, hope you're doing great and welcome to this new video. Today we are trying out a new type of content as I'll be reviewing with you guys the top list from this week's tournaments in China and I'll be telling you everything you need to know to keep up with the format. As per usual, if you enjoy watching this video, feel free to let me know by dropping a like or telling me in the comments, and without further ado, let's get started with the analysis. This is the account of George. If you guys don't know George, go drop him a follow. He won one of the 4 regionals in China, the last one, but he ended up top 8, I think, in all of the previous ones. So he top 8 regional 1, regional 2, regional 3, and then he won regional 4, which is like insane, right? And every week he's giving us deck list from like topping list actually from the Riftbound Chinese City Trials. And so what we're doing each week is that we go over this list and I talk to you about what's going through my mind watching this list. Some of them I'm discovering with you, some of them I've already seen on socials, and so I'm like, okay, I think this is good, I think this is not, you should probably play this, and then we are discussing like if this is going to become a meta trend, like we're going to see this kind of list more often, or if it was just a one shot. By the way, something that I need to talk about before we start watching these lists is most of these tournaments are best of 1, if not all of them, which means some games are a bit like you can win because you high roll, which is like not so often in best of 3, right? And I think only the finals are best of 3. And the first one is the Victor one, which I think is very interesting and something I really wanted to talk about with you guys. I think this guy had some kind of a great idea of like a Victor list, but ended up mixing like 2 things, which I kind of don't like. I think you need to commit to one approach or the other. And I think there are some good things, but it probably is about him eye rolling a lot of the time because he's playing a lot of eye roll cards, 1 Decree, 2 Stratagems, 2 Matron with the seals. I've already talked about why seals are not good in the deck, so I think this is a mistake, but I can kinda understand the idea behind that with all of the yellow burn. This list is somewhat interesting in the way that he is, in my opinion, trying to play blue Victor, which is not so bad. And also, if you want to play blue Victor, you should probably cut the yellow engine, which is like still very important in his list. So like this guy, and like probably this guy too, or kind of a yellowish engine. Like these cards are just so good generically that you don't have to like play yellow scenes and all to play them. But like these guys are kind of high roll cards. If they open the perfect hand with like the cards that they want to play on curve. So like let's say my best curve is Poro and then Vanguards and then Stratagem. Well, I have a shot at hitting them. I'm like insanely strong, but if I get them in the wrong order, it's like very trash. And also one of the big problems of Victor is it does not have a way, like a very good way to cycle through his deck. And so when he draws cards like these, also this in the early game, these cards are stuck in his hand for a very long time in the game, and it can be become troublesome. Yeah, he could just slap Hook in there. Yeah. Actually, he could like just play Hook, and that would probably be like, at least if you want to high roll, go for it full, you know. So I think there's an interesting idea, and I want to talk baseline with you guys about Victor. I think Victor could probably play some like very good blue Victor games, and the only, which is a big part of it, right? But like the only tough matchup, quote unquote, would be Kai'Sa. I think you could still have a decent time against Kai'Sa, like not a favorable matchup, but you can still outplay them. I would probably be on like something like this, then probably this right into Kai'Sa. This is good. Probably this, and then maybe this. Yeah, this for sure. This is so good into Kai'Sa, right? Something like I'm just adding cards, but you guys get the idea. Maybe this or this, whatever. Then you still need tokens, so you probably need Vanguards, then Consult for sure. And like, yeah, Mod Sprite is so good into Kai'Sa. Then with the blue Victor, and probably something like that. Maybe this, some of these, maybe and then Singularity, yeah, and probably Stratagem you still need to play, or like whatever, and then Fox, something like that, maybe Mundo too, but like whatever. So of course this is not a complete deck, but it's kind of the baseline of something I would consider if I was a Victor player, and maybe someday I'll try Blue Victor at locals, because actually I think the deck is rather interesting. Of course the big problem, or the bigger problem, is that you have to face Kai'Sa, and Kai'Sa can just blast this guy because of Falling Store. But I do think you have a lot of options to play around this actually, with the Retreat, which is an excellent card of course, and also you don't need this Victor. Like, if he gets blasted, then let it be, it's like whatever. I think this is the approach I would have taken for this list, which it has some great ideas. I think like this card is severely underplayed. Currently, almost nobody is playing this card. I think it's in my top 10 most broken in the games cards as of now. I think if I were to make a top 10 underestimated cards in the game, it would be like first or second. And if I were to make a top 10 of best cards in the game, it would probably be in there. Like, this is so broken. People don't get why this card is so broken, but like, it's so insane, right? So yeah, this list is interesting. I think this and like these, which was not played lately, are very underestimated cards in the formats, and they are very good, and they should see more play. I don't think I would go for these battlefields though. I would probably go something like when you hold, draw one, when you conquer, discard one, draw one, and then maybe when you target in like here, draw one, or maybe War Camp is fine. So maybe I would just keep this one and then like not these two, and go for God of the Grove Willow. And what's the name of the other zones? I think this guy won because best of one, you know, and like very high potential to high roll, and I think he high rolled when he needed to. But like, you could probably play something that resembles this list with like more of a bluish approach and have a very competitive deck, in my opinion, which I will probably try someday. Then we do have a Yi list, which is not too surprising, right? Yi is still a very strong deck in the format. This is Aurora, so we do have a lot of big bodies. Not something I want to talk about too much, except for one thing that I noticed when I saw the list, and that I kinda like, is like Meditate, which you need to play in Aurora lists, because you don't want to play like small bodies to like have bad Aurora drops. But in my opinion, probably like Rampy lists should also play Meditate. Most Rampy lists at the moment are on like Poro, and then Clockwork, and then they're on like 2 to 3 Pit Rookie, which is the guy that buffs other allies when he enters the field, which I dislike. And I do think Meditate is the way to go, because like whatever, you're playing a ramp list, you need to dig your deck to find your options. So why not just like drop Meditate on turn 2 and accept the fact that you will anyway be losing tempo in the early game, and it's fine, because your whole purpose as a deck is to be so strong in the late game your opponent can't stop you. So I do think you should be on 3 Meditates, no matter what Yi build you're playing, Aurora or Ramp. Might be different for Tempo Yi, but I'm not even sure. Like, I think Tempo Yi could probably still play and value 3 Meditates, since the deck has so few good draw power tools. So I kinda like this 3 Meditates angle in most Yi lists. Then we have a set list. I'm not going to talk too much about sets, since we already did. For you guys who just landed on the stream just before, we were talking about my set list for this weekend, which I really love. Just one thing that I want to talk about that is rather interesting is I think people are realizing how strong this stun mechanic is right now, and which is why I do have hope for Leona too. I think people are just realizing how strong this stun mechanic is, because this guy included a Facebreaker in his build, and this card is very strong too. So it's a card that you can hide, or for 2 energy, you can stun both a friendly unit and an enemy unit in a battlefield. And so like most of the time you do this when you're in control, you hide it and then they come to trade you and you just stun both, but since you were in control you stay in there, right? And they go back to base. So that's a very good card, and I think people are just realizing how strong of a mechanic stun is in the game overall, and how good Rune Prison and Facebreaker are. And I think we will see more of these cards. Probably like side deck, but maybe even main deck, as you can see here. Also, these guys suck in set. Like, you should never play these guys, in my opinion. Maybe Kiana in a full Kai'Sa meta, and like, not even sure, right? They're just too slow. And then we have a Kai'Sa list that is going back to more control, which I like. I think it's the best Kai'Sa build so far. Big problem is that you have a very tough time into Yi. I don't think there's a way to make this matchup like favorable. I think like Mega Mech lists for Kai'Sa and like Time Warp lists for Kai'Sa that are built to beat Rampy just give you like more of an even matchup, but it's still favorable for Yi. It's like 55-45 for Yi, or like something like that, or maybe 50-50 if you have a good opponent. So like, you don't even get such an advantage. You have to rely on drawing your warps, drawing your mechs to make the deck work properly, and then in other matchups it could like punch you very hard. So I really do like a more consistent blast heavy approach with the rain in the main deck, and I think you have to accept the fact that you will struggle into Rampy, and maybe try to find solutions in the side deck. But I think you have to accept the fact that game 1 into Rampy is like lost, or close to lost, and then you have to win game 2 and 3 because of your side deck, and not like main deck horrible cards that are like very bad into other matchups. Also, once again, I do think that this card is shit. Like, I see everyone playing Time Warps. Quick warning from the Ministry of Earth and and Daycare. It's not because a card gives you dopamine, adrenaline, whatever you want when you resolve it, that it is a good card. And when people say, I play this card because it feels good, then most of the time it's the exact reason you should not be playing it, because you will be so biased by the fact that when you resolve it, you're like, oh, this just won me the game. But like, you will forget about the whole build-up that got you there, and you will not realize that, yeah, Time Warp won you the game, but you were already ahead, you already had control over battlefields, and that's the exact reason Time Warp won you the game. And if you did not have this control, this Time Warp in your hand would have been a dead card. But for some reason, people tend to be biased toward the idea that whenever one card, by resolving its effect, wins you the game, it won the entire game alone, which is not the case. Like, Time Warp is not gain 8 points period. That's not the effect of Time Warp. So you need a build up to get there, and you have to not forget about it when you're considering whether Time Warp is good or not. That being said, if you guys want to play what you like and have fun with it, then do whatever you want. We're not talking about the same thing, of course. I'm not saying like you should never play Time Warp, you're a dumbass if you're doing so. I'm saying competitively, Time Warp is not and will never be, in my opinion, a good card. You guys have the right to disagree, and we can debate about it. So yeah, these lists were pretty interesting. And then we do have another batch of lists from China. So something very interesting once again. This is a Jinx list that ended up winning a tournament in China, a city challenge once again. Very unexpected to like be in like such a showstopper in a way, but I don't think this list is actually good, but I do like some of the ideas involved in this list. So basically, the whole point is be a hyper aggressive deck. So hyper aggro, a lot of small bodies that can somehow become like really strong in terms of might and whatever. In that sense, we have the Teamer, which is a body that you can play for a power and then goes to 4 might. We have Divide, which can like basically gain infinite might in this deck because you discard so much. This guy is for 2, you get 4. This guy is for 3. Just pay a power, you can spawn me, I'm on 3 might. And Nocturne also is here to play the role of a cheap unit, which is basically the same thing I'm telling you guys when I'm like, you should probably play Zone Warren game 1, so this battlefield when you conquer this card 1/1, and then accept the fact that you will be adding cards in your main deck that are like not super good cards in every matchup, but like if you get them, it's whatever, you will discard them, and then post side you can like have them out of the deck. And this is exactly what they're trying to do here, I think, because they are playing a lot of cards that you don't want to have in your hands in so many copies. Sandisk, you only want one. Nocturne, you never want to draw him. Some discard card, you only want one of them. But like with the stack deck, with the Jinx effect, with the Chemtech effect, and with the Zone Warren, they do have a lot of opportunities to discard and value dead cards in their hands. And so they're going for it full aggro. And I think some people were surprised. I'm not so surprised to see this deck thrive in this particular metagame, because what we're seeing right now is like Rampy, very slowy, big body Kai'Sa, which is like kind of slow in a way, not so many tools to blast your units. And like, yeah, some decks that are rather slow or quote-unquote dominating, I don't think they're like absolute favorites, but like people think they're better, so you have to take that into consideration when you're thinking of a metagame. And so yeah, regarding like Rampy and Kai'Sa, these are exactly what people think are the best decks in the room, and I think this Jinx list has somewhat of a good time into these matchups. So I think that's why you won. Kinda eye rolly too though, like you must end up having a low number of cards in end like almost every game, and then if you end up drawing it to like Sandisk or Teemo or Nocturne when you're in a situation that you need a good card to like get back into the game, sometimes it's probably like tough and you just lose game because you don't draw good enough. So I think this list is interesting. I think what made it one is, one, eye roll potential, 2, people don't know it and never like are not used to play into Jinx, 3, you also have the Vi Ride the Wind combo, which is like very good in this format. So you are able to play a very strong combo backed up by like very aggressive tools, and I think that's what made this list one. I don't think that's like not interesting. I think that's something that we could see here and there, not like as a top contender, but like as an underdog that could take it all if people are not thinking about aggro decks enough when they're building. Shout out to the player. We don't have the names of the players once again, but like shout out to the player who's out of this list, because I think it's like very interesting and very creative in the way it's built. Second list is rather interesting. I think this guy is at the beginning of the thinking process of building the perfect blue Ahri list. So don't get me wrong, like there are a lot of cards that need to be replaced in this list, but he definitely has the idea that blue Ahri is strong and is going like in the good direction, right? Like these cards are blue Ahri cards. I mean, every Ahri plays this, but like more like retreats blue Ahri cards. Is on the Charms, is on the Burrows, the Raven Blooms, is on Discipline, is also on Smokescreen, is on the 3 Mother Sprites, which most Ahri are not on, or in sideboard maybe these days, is on to the Mundo, and he has interesting cards also in his sideboard. So I think this guy is in his first steps of like, wait a minute, blue Ahri might be the best version of the deck, and I do agree. If you guys know me, you know how much of a blue Ahri fan I am and how strong I think it is. So yeah, this Ahri list, I already have an Ahri video. I already have talked about blue Ahri so much, so I won't spend so much time on this list. There are cards that are good, there are cards that are not good in this list. If you guys want to know what I think about Ahri, you can just go watch the video on the channel, which is this one, which already at the time was Time Warp is bait, and then I'm just giving you like my whole thought process into going into building blue Ahri. Then we do have Set, which is very interesting too. Basically, these cards are interesting, but we talked about them earlier kinda. Wall Up is for 2, you ready someone, and then you can spend a buff to like ignore this card's cost, and then like for 0 you can ready someone. So it's like a decent card, interesting card. I've considered that I had enough ways to like ready units in the deck already with like the Showstopper and the First Mate, but this guy is only playing 2 First Mates and like 1 Wall Up, which like I kinda don't get. Like this card can get defied, right? So might as well play the First Mate. But like we already talked about Set, I think it's a very good deck. I think this card in Set is shit. This card is okay-ish, but it's too slow, you should not play it. This card should probably be a sideboard card, even though it's like decent in the main deck. Shen is interesting too, by the way, but like not broken, just interesting. I see Shen as kind of a win more card. So if you guys don't know, how Shen works, it's pretty interesting that we talk about it because actually it's the only card in the game that works the way it does. So far, though it probably will change in the future, but like Shen is here. So Shen is a reaction unit, which is like, might seem kind of weird, but basically it means that you can play it from your end for 3 energy and a power as a reaction during your opponent's turn. So opponent attacks you, and then all of a sudden, a 5 might, because he has shield too, so a 5 might tank defender spawns from end in the battlefield, which like can be kind of surprising if people are not playing around it. Why I think you should not play set in Shen, in your main deck at the very least in set, but it's interesting sideboard card, is because this card is only good when you're in the lead, which set is sometimes good at doing it, but sometimes it struggles to take the lead, especially into Kai'Sa. And so like when you're in the lead, it's very good to be able to play Shen, because then your opponent attacks, you play Shen, he crashes into your Shen, and like most of the time you will win the game off of it, or like so much tempo that they can't come back later on. But like if you are behind, this card is terrible. It's a 3/3 with a power burn and only tank as a keyword when it needs to attack. So this card is like other dog shit if you're playing from behind. I don't think you should be playing this card in your main deck. Rather, maybe in the side deck to strengthen your going first in 2 matchups like Kai'Sa, because then you can just like drop a unit, and like if they like you play your first turn, if you manage to get a hold of a battlefield, it would be very hard for them to challenge it, and you can use the Shen to make it even harder and probably like seal the deal, right? So like they play something like Falling Star to clear your battlefield, because you have like 4 or 5 points saying they need to clear the board, and then you just go Shen and as a reaction, and then since they targeted with Falling Star already, they can't kill the Shen, so you keep having the battlefield for yourself. He has the tank available to protect your other units, he has the shield too whenever he gets attacked. So yeah, it could be rather strong in some scenarios, but like it's not like utterly insane, especially playing from behind, which is why I would not play it in the main deck, but like inside deck is something you can consider, right? And finally, we do have a Yi list. I think we've talked about Yi more than enough so far, so I think we're kind of done for regarding this list.